All right, let's give everyone a moment to join. You can see those numbers going up. So we will begin in a moment. Hello and welcome, everybody. Please feel free to let us know where you are joining us from today in the chat. I am based in sunny South Africa. So is Shireen, although it's not so sunny this side of the world today. And happy Valentine's Day, everybody. All right, I am going to kick us off. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the 6th and final installment of our Perfect Match series, our 6-part webinar series all around finding the right sales tool for you. We're so happy to have you join us today from all around the world. Today is a special day in that it's Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day. I hope that your days have been filled with love so far. And it's very appropriate since this webinar series is all around helping you to find the perfect match, the perfect sales tool to help you increase your sales performance in 2024 and beyond. As you can see on the screen, we've had 5 incredible sessions so far from our awesome sales consultants filled with so many insights. But today's session is an exploration into time management and productivity. And we will be delving into how mastering time management can ultimately enable your sales team to do what they do best, which is close deals. My name is Jenna. I am head of marketing here at Hubble. And this is a topic that really interests me, albeit I'm not in sales. I think that learning about different tools and techniques around how to manage one's time better is a continuous journey for all of us, no matter what function you are in. And I know that we are going to gain some invaluable insights from Shireen today. Those of you who have been with us on this journey since the beginning, who've joined us for all 5 of these sessions within the Perfect Match series, will be very familiar with this slide. And will know this information about Hubble. But for those of you who are perhaps here for the first time, hello and welcome. And this is just a brief overview of Hubble, how we came about in 2012, who we are, the markets we operate in, and the organizations we serve. Our host today is the lovely Shireen Robinson, our consulting team lead. And before I hand over to Shireen, just a bit of housekeeping. If you do have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to pop them in the chat. I'll be monitoring it. I will interrupt in a nice way, interrupt Shireen as we go to answer your questions so that we can kind of answer them as they come through and make it a little bit more of an interactive session. So please do feel free to pop those in the chat as you go. And with that, I will hand over to Shireen.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenna. It's lovely to have such a great crowd today. Here at Hubble, Valentine's Day is one of our favorite days. For those of you that aren't aware of it, we have a dedicated day for all our teams where we're able to share our appreciation for one another anonymously, or be able to share a message and be able to deliver it. So this morning, we all woke up and we received all these secret admirer messages, and it just is such a wonderful way just to show that appreciation, to just showcase that recognition and the friendships. I mean, so Valentine's Day is a great day. Today has been a wonderful day. I hope you're all having a great start to Valentine's Day. But I thought it was quite appropriate. I mean, I think often when you meet someone, or I found quite recently, you ask them, you'll be like, oh, hey, like, how's it going? And the common response is, yeah, fine, just busy. And when you sort of like probe a little bit, we're like, but like with what? Like what's been happening? And often then the reply is like, oh, well, I don't know, like I'm so busy, but I'm like, feel like I'm not getting things done. And with that, I gave it a little bit of thought, and I thought, I remember a time, and I found quite recently I've said the same. And I cast my mind back to 2 years ago, where I had just got married. I was working full time. And I decided to do my university degree, and which I did, with having 2 small children under the age of 2. So I look back and I think, like, how did that, like, how was I able to do that? And really what that comes down to, and I came across this quote, was, it's how we spend our time is not a matter of fate. It's a matter of choice. And I suppose, put slightly differently, you prioritize the things that are important to you. You look at, I suppose, if you look at it, often you can get so caught up and swept away and just going with the flow, instead of really getting into your flow state, which is where you're then able to be productive, where you're then able to feel productive. And what happens when you're in your flow state is that you are then able to, or time feels like it expands. You're able to get to all the things that you need to get done, even though you still have the same number of hours as previously. So I think that's really a great way just to look at how are you able to use your time, focus your attention in order to make money, or in this case, for this webinar, to be more productive. And all of these are finite. We all have the same amount of, we might not all have the same amount of money, but and our attention levels might differ depending on what's going on in your life and what areas of your life. But at the end of the day, from a time perspective, we all have the same amount of time in the course of a day. So what you can expect from today's session, or from our webinar today, is some ways that you can potentially master your time, ways that you can unleash some of your sales productivity, particularly with the focus on Sales Hub, and some tools and techniques and strategies to help you achieve your goals. So master your time. And often it's like, I suppose Valentine's Day is also appropriate. It's like to stick to the KISS principle. You really just want to keep it as simple, stupid. Like, it comes down to 2 things. Prioritize the important stuff, and then get organized so that you're not wasting time. So that all seems very easy and very simple, but how might you look at how you invest your time? And I think, I chose the word invest because it is, your time is valuable. Your client's time is valuable. Your colleague's time is valuable. So how are you then able to best spend your time? So what you can first look at is in terms of, ultimately, what are you wanting to achieve? And then get really clear about your goals. And there's a number of different podcasts, lots of reading material in terms of setting those SMART goals, but really looking and asking yourself, what do you want to achieve? And, this isn't only in terms of your career or your work life, but also in terms of what you want to personally achieve. And then, in the theme of Valentine's Day, in your relationships as well. So really become clear and create those 3 buckets. Like, what do you want to set? And then write down those 2 or 3 goals for each of those 3 categories. Then what you should then have a look at is to go, okay, right, but where should I invest my time for the greatest impact? So you've only got those 168 hours in a week. How are you going, what can you do, and where can you invest your time in order to get the biggest or the greatest impact? Again, looking at that 80% of your, the 20-80 principle. And then thirdly is, which action should take priority? And this is really going, okay, right, how am I going to spend my time? What do I actually need to do? And then flip it as well and go, what are some of the tasks that I can actually delegate or automate, so that you aren't spending your time on the time wasters or the small bits and pieces, or all the sand. You really want to focus on your rocks. So if we look at it in terms from a sales side, in terms of the workplace, and I mean, at the end of the day, as a sales consultant, as a sales leader, as a sales operation, as a growth consultant, as a growth in terms of managing rev ops, you ultimately need to make sure that you are generating revenue to achieve your quota. So you need to get very clear in terms of, what is your quota? What is it that you're working towards? Because that purpose is really about generating that revenue. the next question is, where should I invest my time for the greatest impact? So where do you think from a sales side that your greatest investment of time should be in order to get and achieve your quota or exceed your quota? Yes, so sales and selling. Salespeople, we need to spend our time selling. We need to be closing. We need to be engaging with our customers. So again, coming back and really kind of laser focusing in terms of what you are setting out to achieve, planning and executing how you're going to go about doing it. So from a sales side, from a sales productivity side, you want to make sure that you are effectively managing your pipeline. You want to be asking yourself the questions, what can I get done today that will have the biggest impact on my pipeline? So really looking at it in terms of what is your pipeline sitting at, analyzing it and going, okay, do I have enough opportunities in my pipeline? Where are they sitting at? Which ones are realistically going to be closing? When are they going to be closing? What needs to be done in order to help move them along? Do I need to qualify and get new contacts into my pipeline? Do I need to be pitching more? What is it that you need to do in order to make sure that your pipeline is full and that you are going to be able to achieve that quota? And then ultimately, tactically, what do you need to get done today that's going to have that biggest impact on your targets? And when you start to look at it from this approach, you're then able to start to go, you know what, this is what I need to get done today. It's a non-negotiable, because if I don't, it's going to have the reverse. It's going to have that negative impact on my pipeline. It's going to have that negative impact in terms of me achieving my quota or me achieving my targets. So from a leadership perspective, it's really important to manage and to aid the sales teams to be able to understand and be able to have that visual effect of where are they in their pipeline and potentially what and where help is needed. So the big question, like if bulk of the time is going to be selling and the greatest impact will be on selling, how much time are sales people actually out selling? And the research that has come out across Gartner, Forbes, HubSpot, LinkedIn as well, it varied from 28 to 35%. So around the average 30% of time of a sales rep's life is actually spent selling or in their week. And when you break that down even further, it's really only 2 hours a day that that sales reps are actually selling. So even when you start looking at incremental improvements where you can then take that up to 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours of actual selling time, you can then start to see the impact that would have in terms of your pipeline, in terms of your customers, in terms of your relationships. If we break that down even a little bit further, because it's important to be able to understand and actually be able to identify where is it that you are spending your time so that you can go, okay, right, it's not always about necessarily saving and like reducing of what you're going to spend time in, but actually, again, coming back to your priority. What do you need to do? What's going to have the biggest impact so that you can focus your time on those activities? And according to the research in terms of that breakdown, this was showcasing only 28% selling time. You'll see over here, which was really interesting, that 19% of the time was actually only really spent meeting clients in person or connecting with them virtually. So 20% of the time was really just in front of clients, and the rest of the time was really involved in terms of non-selling activities. Only 8% of the time was spent prospecting. So you really want to be able to go, okay, right, how potentially can I create more capacity within my own self and within my team to be able to have more time to sell? So what tools can you use? What strategies can you employ? And that's what we're going to have a look at today. So where over here potentially is the greatest impact and the greatest priority would certainly be around being in front of your customers and your clients and your prospects, and then closing. So really being able to quickly be able to generate quotes, proposals, and gain those approvals.
Shireen, just to
Yes.
jump in quickly, I see that it says they're 8.8% on kind of training and internal meetings. And you referenced in your slide earlier that an important part of that productivity, and I suppose a challenge to productivity, is that coaching, right? Getting that one-on-one time with a sales leader, or as a sales leader, being able to make that time to coach your team as to where they really should be spending their time to impact revenue the most. And I suppose a really important part of team culture is sort of creating that coaching culture that we speak about. And as a sort of sales leader, how can you create that culture in your team of not only sort of guiding but also coaching your team to enable them to know exactly where they do need to spend that time?
So historically, from a sales side, the biggest complaint is admin. And then the second is all the internal meetings. So if we were to reduce internal meetings that sales reps often find themselves in because they're needing to sort out admin, or they're needing to attend company meetings, and rather invest that in terms of your training or implementing training tools. So one of the tools that I'll speak to a little bit later is, for example, one of our partners is Aircall. And as a leader, when you have the right tools, you're then able to access information, you're able to access data through your CRM, through your tools that you have, so that you're not reliant on the sales rep to be able to have a meeting with you, to share potentially what some of their frustrations are, that you then have that access to that information, as well as AI in terms of analyzing that automatically, so that you as the leader could then have a conversation, a quality conversation, in terms of going, okay, right, this is what we're needing to focus on and prioritize, or have them share where some of their challenges are, and then guiding them through that. Another really useful way is where instead of necessarily doing face-to-face training or running training, like 2-day long training seminars or workshops, is really to be able to have SOPs that are generated, that's easily accessible, creating knowledge bases for your teams to be able to access that information, and ultimately being able to have information between the different team members that they are able to share. So creating that culture of access to information, access to data, and access to communication. And I think ultimately there, from that perspective, as a sales leader, you then be able to guide and to train both on site or shadowing, but also be able to provide the tools for your reps to be able to access when they need it.
Awesome. Thank you, Shireen. Yeah, I think the mix of all that we're able to do online and virtually, and then also sort of that in person where possible, is probably really important as well. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Jenna. Right, so when you are able to have a team that is highly productive and that are effectively managing their team, and that you've got processes in place and you've got systems in place and you've got technology in place that can aid that, and you can actually increase that velocity for your team to be able to sell, what you then start creating is a culture and a cadence of repeatable revenue growth. You're able to have more reps achieving their quota. And I mean, that in itself is a huge morale booster for sales teams, is that when your teams and yourself is reaching your targets, that becomes a momentum that you want to carry forward. And then ultimately around that employee engagement. So it creates that winning philosophy. I mean, as sales reps, we are highly competitive. We want to win. And as a leader, you really want to make sure that your team have everything that they need in order to achieve that. So what is that? It's time, it's attention. You want to be productive so that you can make the money, both for the company as well as in terms of your commission. So time is finite. There's tools, techniques that you're able to use to better utilize your time. But from an attention perspective, this is really where you can, depending on what's happening in your life, sometimes attention can be really high. sometimes not so great. And that's really where when you get into your flow, when you're then able to identify those attention bids, both in terms of your customers and clients, being able to recognize when to act and when to move forward. And if you've created capacity and you've created some flexibility in your with your time, you're then able to respond to those bids of attention. Similarly, in terms of your relationship, your relationship needs that attention. It needs your time. So you really want to be able to find your flow to become more productive. So to be selective where you put your attention, and this is really where you learn to say no. I normally say, like, say no with a full stop. No is a full sentence. You need to be selective about the types of meetings you have, or in terms of how to better create that capacity. Reduce distractions. You don't want to be doing a number of different things and multitasking when you can focus on one area, get it done, and then move on to the next one. And what really helps and what's really useful is for you to be able to bucket and group your tasks. And what this is really going, okay, right, I'm going to actively look at ways that I can reduce admin tasks, and also then bundle my tasks so that you can then get into your flow by going, okay, right, what I'm going to be doing, it might not necessarily be theming your days, so these are interlinked, but maybe theming the particular morning where you know, okay, right, I'm going to bundle these tasks of actually sending out this email, or following up with these clients that have initially reached out, or I'm going to spend time every Thursday prospecting. So really kind of looking and going, okay, right, what can I get done? And then you create your momentum in terms of getting those tasks done. You really want to be able to make sure that you are focusing on the important tasks and that you're getting those done, and that your time and your attention is on achieving those. Often, at work, both in relationships and at work, communication and collaboration, that can take up a lot of your attention when you are needing to get the attention of your colleague, or be able to get the attention of your manager, or be able to get the attention of your finance person. So you really want to be able to have open communication, and you really want to create that culture of collaboration. So what they found was that 8 out of 10 sales reps reported that selling as a group or as a pair yielded better results. And I've seen that in my own life, where you go in as a team and go and present, often then the closing rate is much, much better. On the flip side, so that same 80%, that 8 out of 10, that 80% that's seen results, on the reverse side is that often sales reps don't feel supported, that they battle to actually get collaboration from other stakeholders, even within their own team. So it's really, really important in terms of what kind of tools you can use. And I mean, there's loads. I mean, your Slack, your Teams, your Notion, you're able then to document and utilize information, being able to use your CRM to also be able to have access to previous conversations, have access to information, being able to centralize where all your communication history comes from.
Shireen,
so when you look at it, yes.
Sorry. We have a question from Jan Jordan in the chat. Jan asks, what task management system with great communication / collaboration would you recommend? Teams is very limited. I'm assuming that you are referring to Microsoft Teams there, Jan. In terms of software, collaboration software, yes, he is. What would you recommend, Shireen?
So there's a number. What we find is some of our clients really find value in ClickUp and that integrating in terms of your HubSpot. Notion is also a really powerful way for team collaboration. So you can run your projects with different stakeholders, different divisions, being able to track how that project is moving, access to information that then syncs back to potentially your G Drive or your Lucid. So being able to have a centralized form of information. But yeah, I find Notion, ClickUp all really powerful in terms of additional software for your teams to collab on. Yeah. Have you tried any of those, Jan?
I'm sure he will let us know shortly. I can speak to Notion as being a really good one for sure. Jan says not yet, but thanks. And we also, this is more on the marketing side, but project management software, we also make use of monday.com, which we found to be quite effective in terms of managing our team's time. One more question for you. Roberta asks, speaking about time, do you have specific recommendations for B2B sales with long sales cycles? I'm guessing, Roberta, in terms of recommendations, are you referring to how to shorten your sales cycle? Or if you could just ask what kind of recommendations are you looking for in particular? And then I can let Shireen know just so that she has a bit more context for your question. I'm sure she will get back to us shortly. There we go. Or how to shorten the sales cycle. How to shorten the sales cycle.
So Roberta, I'm going to show you some reporting. I think you need to be able to view and see your sales cycle, and be able to then go, okay, right, what can we do to be able to reduce that? Where are potentially those bottlenecks happening? I think in the context of what I've spoken about from a time management perspective is very much from a sales rep side of managing the time that you are working a deal, or that you are working a prospect, or that you're working in terms of reaching your targets. So managing your own use of time, and not necessarily in terms of the time that your client's going to take for a deal to be signed off on.
Thank you, Shireen. I have two more questions that I'm going to fire at you while we're going. Barreld asks, how can we as sales drive cooperation with other teams? Do incentives work? The other teams typically have different goals.
So very much, so what works really well is to be able to have a service level agreement between the different teams. So if we were looking at sales and marketing, really understanding what are some of the key outputs that your marketing team are committing to. How many leads are they going to be delivering? When are they going to be delivering it? And at the same time, from a sales side, and being able to share that information back to marketing, or be able to look in terms of what is needed from their side to be able to actually qualify that lead. So the collaboration between different teams, again, really comes down to understanding what each of their goals are, what are their priorities, what is going to help, where is their focus, and for them to be able to deliver on what they need to deliver on from their priorities, and then be able to find that middle ground. So yeah, communication, like in any relationship, you're both coming in from different perspectives, you're both needing, you have different needs, and it's about finding that middle ground. So I think really what's always good is to be able to find a mutual goal that you can both agree on, and then be able to hold each other accountable, and being able to go, okay, right, this is what my expectation is from you, this is what I need from you as well, and then be able to really kind of document that, agree on that, sign off on that, and then assess it.
Absolutely. Could not agree more, especially when it comes to sales and marketing alignment. I am going to let you carry on, and we can get to this other question closer to the end, Shireen.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I mean, I think so all of those questions really kind of set this up quite nicely, because when we're looking at from a sales productivity, and we're looking in terms of the importance of revenue generation, we need to be more productive in order to be able to generate more revenue. What we're also finding at the same time is that a lot of businesses are needing to do a lot more with a lot less budget, a lot less cutting back in terms of some of the different tools that are available. So really about being effective and efficient, and really creating that culture within a team to drive that revenue, to be productive. And this is often a challenge. I mean, like we've heard today, is like, how do we have that cross collaboration between teams where there are potentially conflicting priorities? But we've covered here in terms of that time management, really looking at how are the teams using the team? are there areas that we can actually limit? Are there too many internal meetings? I mean, here at Hubble, we've really kind of looked at our internal meetings and been able to go, okay, right, let's do away with the unnecessary meetings and be able to better use our time available. Really kind of looking in terms of that alignment with sales and marketing that I spoke to Roberta's question. This is a big challenge in terms of sales productivity. And this could be also between different departments. So processes, often we can get caught up in red tape with our own internal processes that make it really difficult for our teams and ourselves and our clients to actually do business with. So how is it that we can actually untangle and uncomplicate our processes, keep our relationships simple? I suppose also here, really a big one is that high rep turnover, which then talks back to, which is compounded then with potentially ineffective onboarding. And then, Jenna, to your point around maybe some of the training. So really kind of looking why, what can we do better to be able to train our reps, to be able to ensure that they're onboarded so that we can maintain that staff. I think also in terms of some of the sales managers and having that enablement. So being able to have access to information and reports and be able to look at your sales life cycle stage, your stages, your velocity, being able to look at like how many deals are coming in, who's closing, having that information readily available and not having to have that lag time of, oh, I need finance to send me the information so I can then do my reports. So really being able to have those tools that you can then access and be able to quickly identify if your team do need training or they do need you to step in. So that is a really big hinder in terms of a lot of sales being productive and having a productive team. And then as much as we've spoken about different tools, what they've also found is that that sales team members and, they feel overwhelmed by the number of tools. There's just so many notifications happening. They don't know what to log here, and actually streamlining and being able to have everything living in one place and being able to have that information when they need it and not having to try and find it. And this then leads in terms of, so some of the tools that can be highly productive for your teams, not only for your sales team, is really having a customer relationship management tool. And as Hubble, we are an elite HubSpot partner. We roll out HubSpot for large enterprise clients. What we also do is we also work in terms of helping sales teams, helping sales leaders to not only get their teams up and running on HubSpot, but also in terms of their sales processes, in terms of some of their sales strategies, in training their sales team, in better understanding of how to qualify your leads. So really that whole start to end journey from sales qualified leads right through to actual customer, growing your customer base, reducing your sales time, and being able to provide a platform for your teams to be able to have that information readily, that they're able to see how they're performing in terms of their pipeline, having that visibility, and actually empowering them to be able to have that contact information and have that collaboration between team members, both their team as well as other stakeholders. What we also do, just in terms of some recommendations, is that we work with a number of partners in order to be able to create a lot more time, be able to give the reps a lot more attention. And that is working with partners like Aircall, who provide cloud telephony system. So being able to make a call, being able to have that automatically logged in your system, being able to track that the actual call, the teams being able to have access to that information, right through in terms of managing your deals. You saw that only 9% of the time was actually spent in creating proposals and generating contracts and getting that approval. So we also work with Deal Hub, and that just really takes having to work off spreadsheets and finding price lists and being able to quickly and on the go be able to generate proposals for your clients, being able to convert that into a contract, and then being able to track that whole process and in terms of getting it approved. And then also in terms of some of the reporting. So I'm glad that it came up around like, how can we better improve our sales? And that's really with our partner cluster, where you're then able to have highly sophisticated forecasting information at your hands in a live environment. So it's really important, as much as there's a number of different tools and there's loads of different tools that we can all plug into, having the right tools so that you can get the information that you need and that it is all seamlessly integrated in terms of your CRM, so that everything kind of lives in one place. So when we have a look in terms over here, like, how can we better create more impact? What can we potentially use within HubSpot? HubSpot has a number of native tools that is readily available for teams to be able to utilize, both in terms of making sure that your customers are able to have set up meetings really quickly for you to be able to monitor those meetings as well, but also being able to virtually connect. So having that Aircall or HubSpot calling, where you then or Zoom integration, where you're able to connect, the information all lives within your CRM system without your reps having to manually enter everything and capture it and remember, take from the handwritten notes and into their system. So here, when you focus and you go, okay, right, I want to be able to have more meetings. How is that possible? How is it possible that you can spend more time prospecting? What kind of tools are you able to utilize? And then ultimately over here, how are you able to generate more proposals? I'm going to flip over here and just show you what that could potentially look like. So, I mean, I realized today that we have a variety of different guests. Some of you might be familiar with HubSpot, some of you might not. So I'm not going to be doing a HubSpot demo, but what I did want to just showcase to you is how you are able to use some of the tools that are available in HubSpot natively, that you're able to access, that then talks to how can you better prospect, how can you save some time, how can you then be able to be more efficient and really kind of focus your attention. And I wanted to start off with the prospecting workspace. This was released late last year, and really for reps to be able to have a central place for them to be able to organize themselves, to be able to prioritize what needs to be done. And what you can see at a glance is it's one place for them to be able to see, what do I need to do? Who do I need to follow up with? And what calls do I need to make? This is our demo portal, and I've got some overdue tasks. So you can see at a glance what needs to be done. Again, in terms of what actions do you need to focus on, but also what actions can you automate or delegate? And here you're able to create a number of different sequences. So your teams are then able to set up some sequences, enroll your contacts into a sequence so that you're not having to manually do administrative tasks. You can then enroll someone that you've just met at an event and automatically remind yourself to be able to send out that first email, and that email gets triggered. You don't need to do it, that the system could then trigger that. So you really want to be able to automate unnecessary admin tasks. And again, here you're then wanting to go, okay, right, what meetings do I have lined up? What do I need to follow up with? And be able to manage your leads all in one central place. So it becomes really powerful for you to be able to manage your leads through qualification, right through to managing your own schedule, managing your own time, having, being able to plan your week next week. So really being able to go, okay, right, what is it that needs to get done, and utilizing that time. Something else that I just wanted to showcase as well here is around ChatSpot. So this is HubSpot's native AI functionality, and it just keeps getting better and better. What you can see here is a bunch of different prompts, and over here I've selected in terms of prospecting. So again, prospecting is critical in sales. So utilize tools. Again, this is all native. You're then able to potentially find and discover different companies based on some of the information with pre-built prompts. You're also then able to get insights. So a lot of time that a sales rep will spend is doing research. So instead of manually going in, you can again use AI tools to be able to do that research for you. And there's loads in the market. Within HubSpot, again, it's living in one portal, so I'm demonstrating that today. But you're then able to do some research on your on customers or potential prospects that you are earmarking. Over here as well, you are then able to, sometimes, you know, you're busy, you're on the go, you don't want to have to always have to start an email on a blank page. You can then actually be able to get AI to write some of your copy. You're also able to use HubSpot's various templates, which you're then able to personalize. So not everything has to be manual, not everything needs to be time consuming. You want to be able to focus on those priorities of meeting clients, seeing clients, and freeing yourself up from admin tasks. And then if we have a look over here in terms of your being able to have that visibility in terms of your pipeline, really kind of being able to manage that. Again, you want to have that information that's easily accessible and be able to kind of see what is actually really happening. So this is just a glimpse in terms of our demo portal of what your pipeline could look like, and it can be customized in a number of different ways, as well as highlights and insights showcased here, which becomes really valuable. From a coaching perspective, from a leadership side, you're then also able to quickly determine and filter out for your team member, for your different teams, how are they performing, what kind of deals need to be moved through, what's actually happening, where is potentially some of the deals getting stagnated, what can be done before it becomes problematic. We then also able to look in terms of, from a training perspective, you also need to be able to create a guide. So when you are doing training and you wanting to have that evergreen information, you can then create an easy guide that actually captures your different screens without you having to do a number of screenshots. So you're then able to provide different training guides for your team that actually walk them through the different steps. So this is also really powerful, and also a fairly new feature that HubSpot has rolled out, and it's free as well. I'm now going to click back, I think, more around some of the reporting side.
Shireen, we had one more question that came through. There's a bit of a conversation with Young and Barald in the chat, but I thought that I would just get your insights as well. Barald asked if anyone has experienced incentives outside of sales to drive cooperation. So I thought maybe you could just touch on this slightly. Jan mentioned that they have some sort of incentive structure across departments in their org, either based on profits or effort. And it did make a big difference. Do you sort of have any experience on that front? And can you talk to incentives across departments slightly?
Yes, I can actually give you a real life example. A few years ago, I headed up a number of different sales teams, and targets were aggressive. I think the targets had gone up by close on 40%. And the first part of the year didn't track really well. And I went to the board and I said to them, right, we need to incentivize. And the incentive was a trip for the entire sales team, as well as the support team, the sales enablement team, and the trade marketing person at the time. And the trip was to Zanzibar. And the fiscal ran from March to February. And by the beginning of December of that year, not only had the team achieved that Q4 target, they'd achieved December's month's target, the quarter target, and the annual target. And that April, we were then able to take the entire team to Zanzibar for a week. And that was really in terms of creating something, creating that can be a really powerful tool for collaboration and morale, to have an attractive incentive. So yes, I think incentives work really well. I think it helps to be very clear. I think you need to also, it needs to come with caution, is my moment of hesitation, because you don't only also want to be centered around the incentive in itself, because that can also be dangerous. But you want to be able to create a shared goal, and that the teams are working towards something, understanding what it is that they're working towards and why, with the incentive that for them there's a reward for it, that, you know, they've all worked really hard, they've come together. So I think from a leadership side, it's how it's positioned and how it's framed, and that it's something that's going to be meaningful for the team, and find out from the team what would be meaningful, what would be something that would motivate them. And then in your sessions, you know, your one-to-ones and your team meetings, you can have, we had like a barometer, and we could see, right, what do we need to do to get to that goal. And it was an ambitious goal. So yeah, it's very, very powerful. Incentives work, but then make it visible, use dashboards, have conversations around it. People then start holding each other accountable, and saying, you know, like, from this department, and have them join your meeting, invite them in, get them to kind of see, get them to join some of your meetings with clients. You know, if you have if perhaps with your finance team, where there's credit notes that are being issued or late invoices, and they then start to see and experience your world of like, okay, right, this is the frustration point. That I found has also been really beneficial as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Doreen.
Yeah, something else I think also to maybe think about is to bring in gamification. So make it fun, make it make it interactive, especially for teams that have global team members. Have that camaraderie. We that becomes also a very powerful way of creating collaboration and having a leaderboard. So that's something else to also consider. Okay. So you can't manage if you can't measure, right? So you really want to be able to have your goals, but you really want to also be able to know how you can track those and how you can measure those and how you're performing to that. So sales productivity, we want to be able to know how efficient we are. You want to know how effective you are, and you want to be able to report back in terms of that performance. And this really helps everyone to be able to focus and be able to say no when you need to say no. So some of the efficiency metrics that you can have a look at, and I'll give you a little glimpse into the default reports that are available within HubSpot. But really here, you want to be able to know what the number of activities over a period of time. You want to be able to look at the length of the sales cycle. You want to be able to know this information so that you can assess and look at what you can do to actually improve it, or celebrate your win rates. Your conversion metrics, not only in terms from your deal conversion metrics, but also in terms of your leads. So really being able to see what's working, what's not working, and what is working, what needs to happen. Your effectiveness. So this is really important, like really being able to go, okay, right, well, what is my average revenue, and how are we benchmarking that across the different team members, the different teams in itself. Maybe there's national teams, maybe there's different departmental teams. What is our retention rate? And then this one here, like your sales rep habits, like, are the team effectively using your CRM system? Are they effectively having meetings? Like, are they effectively communicating? So really being able to look at that holistically. And then performance metrics. You absolutely need to know what your revenue is. You need to be able to have that at hand in terms of how they're performing. That could be at account level, customer, product, potential gaps where you're needing to have a look at, being able to identify, like, if someone's fallen off, like why, your number of deals closed, demos, emails, meetings. So all of those, there you can actually dive a lot more into it, but you want to be able to see what is working, what are those numbers looking like. And if we go, let me go back here. I just wanted to give you a glance in terms of some of the reports, those default reports. So whether you're new to HubSpot or whether you are using HubSpot, there's a whole bunch of new reports that have rolled out. So I always think it's like useful just to sort of showcase this. This is all live. Again, this is a demo portal, so some of the figures might not pull through and look as impressive as what they would in your portals with your data. is to be able to go, okay, right, in terms of better, in terms of managing teams, or be able to look in terms of how you're performing, you're then able to have access to a number of different reports, both in terms of team performance, that activity performance, lead performance, what kind of outcomes, meetings, prospecting activity. So you're able then to see at a glance what is actually happening, what is actually performing, what's working, what's not working, where's my team spending their time. I think often that's it, like when your team is not performing and they're saying they don't have time, you can then start looking at and unpacking, like, well, potentially, where do we need to cut back? What do we need to focus on? Where is the time in the different deal stages? What's happening? You're then also able to, again, look in terms of your forecast. How are your deals moving through your pipeline? Again, you want to make sure that your pipeline's efficient. You want to be able to know what you need to do today to get the biggest impact in terms of your pipeline, in terms of that revenue, in terms of those goals that you're chasing. So really being able to go, okay, right, what is happening and why is it happening? And outcomes. I mean, again, like, so you want to be able to see what your deals are, where they're coming from, what kind of velocity that, how much money is being made, and being able to go, okay, right, this is what it's currently setting at. What is it that we want to get it to, and how are we going to get there? So you are then able to, at a glance, have access to a number of different reports. You are then also able to filter it out. So you might, as a rep, you're going to want to know your information. Perhaps you want to know your team information. At a more leadership position, you might want to know the overall performance and maybe the different teams. So you are then able to select and filter out. And this is all live. You're able to access the information, you're able to access the dashboard, and you're able to access a lot of this information all on through the Mobi app as well. So this becomes a really powerful tool to better understand, if your goal is to achieve this quota, how are you currently tracking, and where does the attention of your team need to go, and where is that time going to go?
Shireen, I'm going to jump in with a question from Gurpreet. So he says, I have requested Outlook and HubSpot integration from IT, as I know the time this would save and would be so much more productive. Our IT has refused. He would like to find out why and any advice on how to push this forward.
I think, again, it comes to, like, potentially what would the reason be from IT that they have declined it. If it's in terms from like a security perspective, or in terms of perhaps maybe from an understanding perspective, and then being able to go, okay, right, well, if it is from a security perspective, what do we need to answer? I'm not quite sure how to answer it, but I mean, I think it comes down to being able to go, okay, right, well, if our teams aren't able to sync their emails and sync their calendars, there's going to be a cost of time associated to this, because now the teams are needing to manually copy and paste, which isn't a risk in itself, because it's using up the time for your reps, it's causing frustration, but also that's valuable information that when Shireen is not at work today because she's off sick, then Sally can't, or Jenna can't actually be able to access that communication of what's actually happened and what needs to continue with that client. So it becomes at risk, and becomes from the customer experience as well, like not being able to see, okay, right, well, this is the history of all the comms, this is the history of what meetings are coming up. So it really does become an inhibitor in terms of, right, we can't then utilize a lot of the capabilities of your system. So I suppose it would just be really better understanding what is the reluctance? Is it are they reluctant? Is it just particularly with HubSpot? Is it across the board with different tools and software? I think that could be unpacked, and I'm happy to assist in terms of providing information if it is from a security side.
Thank you kindly, Shireen. Yes, I asked for further context. Barald said he fixed this or communicated this to the team by showing the value add for the customer as well as internal teams in terms of that Outlook HubSpot integration. So yes, hopefully, and I'm sure Gurpreet will get in touch if there's any further questions on that front.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. It's the cost of not doing it. It's the impact of not doing it. is what you can highlight. All right. So I think in the, just in terms, we've looked at it very much from the company in terms of how best you and your teams can invest their time, focus their attention, and to be more productive. But I think on an individual level, I found a really great TEDx talk with Laura Vanderkam. She is like a really well recognized or international recognized guru in terms of time management, and she gives some really great practical examples of how you can get more out of your free time, actually, but how you better able to use your 168 hours. So I just thought this was I thought, well, a takeaway for you is to kind of go, well, what is it that I want to achieve? What is it that I want to focus my attention on? And some really practical steps that you could have a look at getting started. And schedule something that you look forward to, that's meaningful for you. So I spoke in the beginning about having your work, yourself, and your relationship. What are some of those goals that you want to be able to achieve? Make short to-do lists. I'm very guilty of having very long to-do lists and then feeling overwhelmed by where to start. So create 2 or 3 in each of those buckets. Get those done. Give yourself a bedtime. Sleep's important. It's valuable. You can then be more productive the next day. Schedule your following week on Fridays. So they've spoken about the opportunity to be able to really kind of plan, be able to go, okay, right, this is what you need to do so that you can start the week strong. Think about what you'd like to spend more time doing and then prioritize that. And then track your time. So have a look at how are you spending your time? What is it that you find, but you're just busy? What is it that's actually keeping you busy so that you can redirect? And then finally, I don't want your money, honey, I want your love. I focused very much in terms of money and the productivity. But, at the end of the day, just like in relationships, your clients want your attention. They want your time. They want your love. And sales is relationships. And, you need to also invest as much as you want to be productive and and money is really important, that priority. You want to make sure that you're giving your time and attention and your love to your clients. And with that, thank you, everyone. It's been an amazing 6 webinar series. I just wanted to say thank you to Jenna. You've been absolutely incredible over the last couple of months in preparation with you and your team. So thank you so much. And then to my amazing team of sales consultants, thank you. I know there's been a lot of hard work and a lot of planning and a lot of execution. I just think that it's been absolutely incredible. So thank you to each of my sales consultants. If you haven't attended their webinars, that is all available in the link that Jen will share after this webinar, where you can go watch it on demand and be able to hopefully get some really valuable insights that's been shared along the last couple of months of our Perfect Partner series.
Awesome. Right back at you, Shireen. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I'm actually sad it's over, but it's not goodbye. It's just see you later. We will definitely do another one soon. And thank you so much to everyone for joining us on this journey. Please do connect with Hubble on LinkedIn. If you haven't already, that is where we share all of our latest content and updates. And if you have any specific questions for Shireen, feel free to connect with her on LinkedIn and pop her a message or an email. It looks like we have covered all of the questions in the chat. Thank you all for joining us for the last hour. And I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your Valentine's Day. Lots of love from both of us. Cheers, everyone.